This day, in Luyun Kingdom, it was still as calm as usual. Everyone was busy with the matter at hand, and no one noticed the coming storm. However, at that moment, a guard fell in from outside the city gate with a sword in his chest, blood spurting out of his mouth, his face as pale as paper. The pedestrians on the road all stopped and looked up in dismay, and then they saw the sky ahead of them dark and oppressive, as if there were a large troop approaching, with a domineering aura. "Go!" informed the general. The guard's mouth was bubbling with blood, and his words came out somewhat choked. "Go and inform General that there is an enemy coming." After he said that, he lost his breath and lay dead on the ground. Screams and pleas for help resounded in this street, and the whole street turned into a mess. In the imperial palace's courtyard, no matter how much he complained about Feng Tianwen nowadays, or even scolded him behind his back, he had already gotten used to reviewing these documents, and he did not have the pressure he once had. Suddenly, a panicked voice was heard, and he immediately saw a guard crawling in, his voice filled with panic. "Lord General, there is an enemy troop coming here." "Enemy troop?" Nayland Zhanshan frowned, his face slightly sunken. "There are still enemy troops who dare to come to our Luyun Kingdom now? What forces are those enemy troops from?" Not sure." The guard voice was trembling. "Those enemy troops are too powerful. We're not sure where they are from. Among those people, every one of them was powerful. Even the aura of each one of them was even more terrifying than the general. When did this Tsangyu mainland have so many powerful people without being known?" Nayland Zhanshan stood up. He paced back and forth anxiously, and only after half a second did he stop. "Go to the chief manor immediately. Take the old general and ear to hide first. They'll handle the rest. Me for extra chapters." The people who still dare to come and invade Luyun Kingdom must be quite strong at this level. His father was old, so he could not let him be in any more danger. This was what he should do as a son. Likewise, as a vassal, no matter how difficult the road ahead was, he must step forward and guard the land behind him. "Others follow me to the city gate. No matter who is coming, we are not allowed to retreat in this battle. For one step back would bring the people to their doom." At General Manor, the old general was putting his armor on. He picked up the long sword and was just about to walk out when a guard came in a hurry, jumped in front of the old general, and knelt. "Old general, you can't go. General commanded me to take you and your wife to a safe place to hide." "Ridiculous." The old general kicked him and growled, "I may be physically old, but my spirit is not old. I will fight as long as I'm still alive. The Nayland family doesn't have a greedy generation who is afraid of death. The only thing that made him happy was that Dai and Jinger were not in the Nayland family. So he could rest easy, but it is the general's order." "General, shut up." The old man put the long sword in his hand on the guard's neck. "What I need to hear is not to let me be a deserter. What I want to hear is that all the people are united. We will fight together till death." The guard lowered his head. Facing such a brutal old master, he did not dare to continue to say more. The old general saw that the guard no longer spoke, and he turned to look at Chini. "Continue doing the same as before. Make sure to protect the safety of those ladies and these people. They'll leave it to you." The old general's voice trembled. He closed his eyes with some reluctance, and only opened them a few seconds later. Chini stepped forward and nodded firmly. "Father, don't worry. As long as I'm still alive, I will certainly not put these people in the path of any danger." "Good." The old master patted Kinyi's shoulder, turned around, and walked with firm steps toward the outside of the house. Every step he took was heavy, hammering hard upon Kinyi's heart, causing her heartache as she watched the old master's departure. The dead bodies were strewn across the field in the city gate. The blood flowed into a river, flowing over the street. The old master just arrived when he saw a man beheading a young girl with a sword. His eyes were red, looking at the dead bodies all over the ground. Their eyes filled with blood, and a mouthful of blood spurted out of their throat. These people lying on the ground were the people of Luyun Kingdom. This scene was like a knife digging into his heart, making his heart ache and his eyes bloodshot. Damn, all of these people deserve to die. The old master clutched the long sword in his hand, a figure in full armor, as fierce as back then. But he had aged a lot. His white hair billowed in the harsh wind. Father! The moment Nalan Zhangqian turned back, he saw that the old master had run to his side. His father was angry, trembling, as if there was a rush of blood coming headlong, making him almost lose his mind. Father, why are you still here? Nalan Zhangqian smiled bitterly. He knew that his father could not possibly sit silently. The kingdom was like his family, and the people were like his own son. Me for extra chapters. How could he stand by and watch when his family and his son were dying? I don't know who you are or why you came to my Luoyuan kingdom. The long sword in the old master's hand was pointed at the head of the enemy group, his voice trembling. But you so-called strong men are so brutal and evil. Just because you are powerful, can you disregard the lives of the ordinary people? In my opinion, you do not deserve a name. The real strong man is to protect the land, to protect the people, not beasts like you who humiliated the people and killed them recklessly. This group of people is the real beast. No, I'm afraid that not even beasts are as brutal as they are. The elder in the sky lowered his gaze, looking at the old master coldly. We are here to find a man called Feng Tianwu. Get him out here, and I will let these innocent people go. If he does not come, I will slaughter all people in this city. No one will be left behind. The moment these words were spoken, the elder in the sky emitted harsh energy. This energy was like a fierce storm, and no one could resist the power it held. Nalan Zhangqian raised his head in panic. Father, this energy was so shocking that it was impossible to resist. Nalan Zhangqian trembled slightly. Where exactly did these people come from? Perhaps we really can't defend Luoyuan Kingdom anymore. The old master clutched the sword in his hand. He knew there was no way to resist. In front of him, these people were too powerful, so powerful that they were no longer able to fight against them. But I'm the general of Luoyuan Kingdom. My daughter is the empress of Luoyuan Kingdom, Feng Tianwu's wife. Just deal with me and don't let your men kill these innocent people again. Father, Nalan Zhangqian's eyes were red. He turned to look at the old master, his eyes bloodshot. Old Master Nalan's pace was firm, his back was straight, and his aura was overwhelming, like a general who conquered the land back then. The elder looked down. His gaze fell upon old Master Nalan. He sneered and laughed sarcastically. Feng Tian was father-in-law. Since that's the case, he'll take you first, and he'll see if that bastard Feng Tianwu will come back or not. Boom! In an instant, the elder rushed toward old Master Nalan, setting off a gale. Old Master Nalan was stunned, breathing hard, as if all the air from his surroundings had been sucked, making it uncomfortable for him to breathe. Under this heavy pressure, he did not even have the strength to dodge the attack. But from beginning to end, the old master's expression remained fearless. Dressed in full armor, his gaze was as firm as ever, with the choice to die for his kingdom. If my death can make these people stop harming the people of my Luoyuan Kingdom, then I'm willing to die. Father! Nalan Zhangqian let out a heart-wrenching roar, and he quickly rushed toward the old master. He always complained about his father, but in reality, he only had one father. All his life, his father had been his role model. Suddenly, a silver light flashed, and in a flash, a snow wolf came running wildly from not far away. Its body soared into the sky as it bit the elder's arm. The bite allowed the old master to move to the side, dodging the sword. Damn wolf! The elder's face was expressionless as he raised his hand and pushed the snow wolf hard. The snow wolf fell from the sky and landed heavily on the ground, spitting blood. When it raised its gaze, it found that a group of people already surrounded it. The snow wolf shivered in fear, scared to the point of crying out. Its body trembled, its face showing panic. If Master doesn't come back, I will really turn into a roasted wolf. Me for extra chapters. Biri, Biri 2, and other spirit beasts also arrived, roared, and rushed toward the enemy. However, the spirit beasts in Sangyu mainland were not a match for this group of people. The only advantage they had now was their thick, tough skin that would not easily be hurt. The old master's eyes became even redder as he looked at the defiant spirit beasts, clutching his long sword tight in a trembling hand. More people fell into pools of blood, making him even angrier. He roared and rushed toward the enemy. I said, I am Feng, Tianwu's father. Come to me. All of you come to me. Why can't you spare the others? Indeed, after he had revealed himself, these people still did not stop killing others. These people of Luyun Kingdom were just ordinary men. They were strong people, so why did they treat these ordinary people like that? Poof! A sharp blade pierced through the old master's shoulder, and blood flowed out. His body swayed a few times, but he forced himself to stand firm. Father! Nalan Zankian's tears flowed, but there were too many people in front of him, and it was impossible to reach the old master's body. The elder stood in the sky, looking down at the old master in front of him. His voice was cold. Cut this old man into pieces. They'll see if Feng Tianwu dares to come back or not. The enemy surrounded old Master Nalan, and all the swords were pointed at him. The old master's expression remained unchanged. He smiled coldly and sneered at the enemy surrounding him. Kill him, the elder ordered his men coldly. In an instant, everyone moved as fast as the wind, swiftly heading toward the old master. Old Master Nalan closed his eyes. His expression was calm, even though he was facing death. Everyone was shocked, and their hearts almost stopped beating. They could already imagine the scene of the old master falling into a pool of blood. They panicked and wanted to pounce on him. At this moment, a blast of wind came swiftly, and with a boom, the enemy who rushed toward the old master was pushed back several meters away. The old master froze. He raised his head, shocked, and he slowly turned to the couple behind him. A man and a woman stood side by side in the sky. The man was extremely handsome, with sharp facial features and an overbearing aura like the king of the world. The woman in a light yellow dress looked elegant and stunning, as if she was the mother of the world. These two people stood side by side in a battle scene, just like the world's most beautiful painting. Father! Nalan Yin swiftly rushed toward the old master. She blocked the enemy with her body and turned to the old master behind her. Father, are you all right? The old master's lips trembled, and his eyes closed in pain. You shouldn't have come back at this time. These enemies in front of them were so powerful that they would not have a chance to fight against them. Feng Tianwu and Nalan Yin came back, but it would not help. It's time for us to come back. Feng Tianwu walked down slowly. His breathing grew heavier with every step he took, and he looked cautiously at the group of enemies in front of him. The aura of these people was indeed powerful, and he was sure that he had never seen these people before. Where did these people come from? So you are Feng Tianwu? The elder looked up at the man walking down from the sky. He smirked and said coldly, We come to capture you. If you obediently leave with us, maybe we will still be kind enough to let these people go. Me for extra chapters. Nalan Yan's heart tightened, and she subconsciously grabbed the man's hand. Feng Tianwu patted Nalan Yan's hand and looked at the elder with a cold smile. Are you sure that if I go with you guys, you will let the others go? Yes. The elder looked up and smiled coldly. Emperor, old Master Nalan panicked. You can't go with them. They won't keep their words. Just now, I promised to surrender, but he still wants to kill the innocents. In the eyes of these people, ordinary people are like ants. There is no way they will let them go. Feng Tianwu frowned and looked at the elder coldly, his face expressionless. The elder snorted coldly. You can't fight against us. So what if I don't spare them? Who among you can stop me? Ha ha ha. The old master was right. In their eyes, these ordinary people were just like ants. Moreover, the head of the group had already said that he wanted to leave no one in Feng Rooking's country behind. No one could survive. This was the price that must be paid for offending him. Ow! The snow wolf howled angrily, its eyes bloodshot as it rushed toward the elder, revealing its sharp teeth. However, without waiting for the elder to make a move, Feng Tianwu quickly grabbed the snow wolf and flung it to the side. Go away. This is not your business. Leave. He paused and lowered his gaze. His voice was faint. Go back. Wait for Qing'er to return. Howl! The snow wolf howled. It looked at Feng Tianwu, but did not move. The other spirit beasts also did not leave, all gathered around the street. Emperor! The old master's voice filled with deep pain. He trembled a little, crying, You really shouldn't have come back. Don't say that. Feng Tianwu shook his head. I'm the ruler of this kingdom. I can't abandon my kingdom and ignore my people. They're here for me. Nailin Yin did not say much, only followed Feng Tianwu's side. Their eyes were filled with determination. They chose to die for their kingdom. The wind rose. The whole sky looked dark, as if there was a storm coming. All people felt slightly worried. Inside the city gates, there was a strong smell of blood and dead bodies piled up everywhere. They could feel what these people had experienced before they came back. Each dead body was like a sword, fiercely stuck in Feng Tianwu's heart, making his heart ache so much that he could hardly breathe. I want to know one last thing. Feng Tianwu slowly walked toward the elder. His face remained calm. Why do you want to capture me? The elder snorted. Of course, it's because of Feng Ruqing. Feng Ruqing. These 3 words made Feng Tianwu's heart tremble. These people came for Qing. Is Qing'er in danger? However, since they came looking for him, it proved that they could not hurt Qing'er for the time being. Otherwise, they would not use him to threaten Qing'er. As for what reasons, the elder himself was not clear. He only understood that Feng Ruqing was from Sanyu mainland, but the details of why their master wanted to attack this land were unclear. Feng Tianwu stopped in his tracks. The corners of his lips curled up in a shallow arc. Since they came for Qing'er, I won't let these people have their way. Me for extra chapters. And I won't let them have the opportunity to use me to threaten Qing'er. With that, Feng Tianwu raised the sword in his hand, his black eyes blazing as they fell upon the group of people in front of him. I won't let you have the chance to use me to threaten Qing'er. The elder sneered. That depends on whether you can do so. Our master said that if we are unable to bring you back, even if we kill you, we must still bring your body back. Feng Tianwu frowned. Bring my body back? If I died, is there still any need to threaten Qing? Somehow, hearing the elder's words, Feng Tianwu's heart became more uneasy. But he understood that even if he died here, he could not let Qing'er be threatened in any way. Yin'er, Feng Tianwu looked back at Nailin Yin. He smiled bitterly. I have to let you follow me and risk your life again. Over the past few years, they had experienced countless dangers and faced the threat of death. However, they could finally walk down the same path together. But now, Feng Tianwu clearly understood that this time was perhaps the greatest endangerment they had ever encountered in their lives. However, they could not retreat. They could only go forward. Nailin Yin held Feng Tianwu's hand and turned to look at the group of enemies in front of him. From the day I followed you, many things must be faced together. Moreover, this is for Qing'er. This was for their daughter, and they were willing to sacrifice for her. Therefore, even if she had to die, she did not regret it. The moment Nailin Yin said that, she was already heading toward the group of enemies in front of her. The powerful aura instantly surged out, and in an instant, it spread over the entire sky. Feng Tianwu was no longer hesitant as he raised his long sword and slashed at those who surrounded them. His handsome face was cold. Dense clouds shrouded the dark sky. The blood covered the earth, giving people a creepy feeling. Old Master Nailin looked at Nailin Yin and Feng Tianwu in shock. I have not met them for a few years. They have improved a lot. Now, these young people are more powerful than me. But the enemy was obviously more powerful. So powerful that even with their strength now, they could not defeat them. The people of Luyun Kingdom had all fallen into the pool of blood. Even the spirit beasts were all dead and piled up all over the streets. This was a vicious battle. They knew that they would lose in this battle, but no one retreated till the end. They believed that even if they lost their lives here this time, Feng Ruqing would come to avenge them. Nailin Yin still could not hold the siege of so many people. Her arm was cut and bleeding. Feng Tianwu's expression changed slightly as he swiftly stepped forward, took Nailin Yin into his arms, and turned toward the group of people who were attacking them. Someone had already caught the old general, and countless long swords were placed above his neck, making him unable to move. The old master smiled coldly as he looked at these people in front of him. Suddenly, he laughed out wildly. "I can't help them, and I won't let you use me to threaten them." He grabbed the long sword that was on his neck and sliced his neck without hesitation. "Father!" Nalan Zankian's eyes were filled with grief and sorrow. Nalan Yin turned back and saw this shocking scene. She was so frightened that her heart almost stopped beating. Moreover, she did not notice the enemy who was rushing toward her. If Feng Tianwu had not stopped the sword for her, she would have already been stabbed by the sword. Clang! Me for extra chapters. Suddenly, a strong spiritual power came from not far away, striking the long sword in the old master's hand. The long sword fell to the ground. The old master's palm was cut when he grabbed the sword blade just now, and blood poured from his palm and dripped to the ground. The ground in front of him was soon wet. The old master turned his head, shocked. He frowned, looking closely at the woman under the dark sky. The young lady in a red dress was stunningly beautiful. She slightly raised her hand. A few moments later, a huge pot appeared in the sky above him. Bang! The huge pot slammed down, and in just an instant, all those enemies surrounding the old master fell to the ground and were smashed into pieces. Nalan Zhangxian cried out with joy. He thought he would lose his father at that very moment. Fortunately, she came back. "Little sword, little soul," Feng Ruqing called out with an expressionless face. Buzz! The black longsword next to Feng Ruqing emitted a buzzing sound, seemingly responding to Feng Ruqing's words. Then a black light flashed. A handsome man in black was separated from a sword, standing there expressionlessly. "Kill all of them." Her voice was cold, but it was loud and clear, flowing through the crowd and echoing through the air. Those alive among the people of Lu Yun Kingdom burst into tears of joy. Feng Ruqing is back. She finally came back. 10 years ago, Feng Ruqing was a bad girl, arrogant, fat, and ugly, and everyone was disgusted by her attitude. But now, she was their only hope. Lu Yuqin looked at the woman's beautiful face with mixed emotions and was somewhat stunned. He cultivated in a place not far from Lu Yun Kingdom. Hearing that something bad had happened in the imperial city of Lu Yun Kingdom, he hurried over. After all, this was his home, and his family was here. No matter how much he wanted to break away from the Lu family, he still could not turn a blind eye to it. So he came back. However, he did not expect to see Feng Ruqing when he returned. Perhaps too much time had passed. The woman in front of him now was no longer the same as she was back then. Lu Yuqin bowed, a bitter smile playing on his lip. "You've improved a lot. If I hadn't chosen to give up on you back then, would we all have ended up differently? Unfortunately, there is no if. He once made a choice that ruined his life." Feng Ruqing did not notice the man in the crowd. Perhaps even if she saw him, she would not be too bothered. She was not interested in any unimportant person. Little Sword and Little Soul rushed into the battlefield. Their auras were so powerful that the whole sky turned gloomy, filling the surrounding people with a chill. Little Soul raised his hand and grabbed the black sword. He then rushed forward, slashing the enemy, and in the blink of an eye, the enemy fell into a pool of blood. Feng Ruqing looked at the scene before her expressionlessly and slowly walked toward Old Master Nalan and the others. "Me for extra chapters. You are injured. Let's go back and ill-treat you." Nalan Yin froze and frowned. "What about these people? Then they will take care of it." Feng Ruqing smiled faintly. The people of the Nan family were too confident, so confident that they thought no one could return to Sanya mainland. Therefore, the people they sent out were not strong enough to defeat Little Soul. Nalan Yin nodded. She always believed in her daughter's words. "All right, and you have to tell me, where did you and Nan Xian go all these years? Why did you come back alone, and where is Nan Xian?" Feng Ruqing's gaze sank slightly. "He is still waiting for me in another place, so I cannot stay here for long. I will have to leave again later." Initially, she had planned to come back to Sangyu mainland first, and then return a land of no return to meet up with Nan Xian. She did not expect that she would meet the people of the Nan family. China. Feng Tianwu's voice was low and hoarse. Those people, they came for you? MHM. Feng Ruching nodded. It was because of me and grandfather that they found this place and want to take you away to threaten us. Feng Ruching had already guessed the Nan family would send people to catch Feng Tianwu. Moreover, they wanted her to kill Feng Tianwu with her own hands. Feng Tianwu was happy after he heard Feng Ruching's words. He patted her shoulder and said, "So you found your grandfather?" "Yes. He did not know how to come back, but now I found a way to return at Sanya mainland." Feng Ruching smiled faintly. "I need to leave again later because grandfather and Nan Xian are still waiting for me." "I'll go with you." Feng Tianwu looked serious. Feng Ruching shook his head. "Father, you cannot go for the time being. You have to wait for us to settle a few things first. Moreover, after the failure of the Nan family today, maybe they might come again. I will leave you some herbal wines and spear herbs. You take advantage of this time to cultivate. I will also set up formations outside Luyun Kingdom," but she paused for a moment and continued, "I've set the center of this formation in your study room. I'll use your blood and mother's blood, so that only you two can control and choose who you want to let in." There's a reason why Feng Ruching did so. The Nan family might find a Mu family if they did not get Feng Tianwu. Feng Ruching could not stay here and wait for the Mu family to come, so she could only do so. "You must be careful. Don't let any stranger enter this place." Feng Tianwu's voice was a little hoarse. "All right, father, mother, grandfather, uncle, let's go. After I take care of all the things for you, I have to leave." Other people were waiting for her. Therefore, she cannot stay here for too long. Land of no return. Inside Tianya's manor, the sound of laughter echoed throughout the manor, and the sound of it made all people in Tianya's manor feel happy. Xiao Hui was standing not far away. She looked at Xia Xia, who was playing with a big dog in front of her smilingly. Her eyes were filled with a gentle light. Suddenly, a strong breeze came, stunning Xiao Hui. As she regained her senses, she quickly dashed towards Xia Xia, pulling the little girl into her arms. The moment she took Xia Xia into her arms, several figures descended from the sky and stood in front of her. The leader was a woman dressed in green with a youthful appearance, but Xiao Hui could see from her eyes that she was no longer that young. Me for extra chapters. There was even something familiar about this woman. Someone from the Nan family? Xiao Hui's face was slightly sunken. Nan Feishue? 20 years ago, Nan Feishue competed in a martial art competition, and since then, she had kept chasing after Tianya. However, Tianya never had any feelings for her, so he ignored her. Yet, all people in the Nan family were known to be perverts. They loved to stalk and pester others. Nan Feishue was a nobody before, and only after Nan Fong became the new head of the Nan family did he bring her in and raise her status. So, in the end, she was just Nan Fang's dog. "It seems that you still remember me." Nan Feishue smiled. She turned to look at the little girl, who was protected by Xiao Hui in her arms, smirking. "However, this little girl has to come with me today." Xiao Hui's face sank slightly. "What are you going to do?" "My lord said that this little girl is Nan Xian's child. The young master can only inherit the power left by Nan Chongfeng using her blood." Although Nan Feishue did not know why her lord had said so, she clearly understood that her lord would not lie. Even Master Nan Fong obeyed him, so shouldn't the others? Xiao Hui's heart tightened as she held Xia Xia in her arms tightly. She lowered her eyes and looked at the little girl in her arms. "Xia Xia, are you afraid?" The little girl was still young, but she looked so calm. Her expression did not change as she shook her head and said, "I'm not afraid." "Good girl." Xiao Hui smiled. "I promised your mother to protect you, so I will not allow anyone to hurt you. Even if it came with a heavy price, she would not hesitate to do so." Xiao Hui raised her head firmly, staring intensely at the people in front of her. "If you want to take Xia Xia away, you have to step over my dead body first." "Xiao Hui, do you think you can stop us just because you are from Nine Gate? An emperor warrior with extraordinary strength?" Boom! A storm lifted violently around Nan Feishue's body. It was so powerful that it shocked Xiao Hui a little. Ew! How is it possible? She knew Nan Feishue well. How could Nan Feishue reach this rank? Emperor Warrior. She had already reached Emperor Warrior tier. Xiao Hui panicked. She was also an Emperor Warrior, but she had to protect Xia Xia, so it was somewhat challenging to face Nan Feishue. And Xiao, why did you go first? I'm not afraid. The little girl raised her small face stubbornly. I'm Mother's daughter. I'm not afraid of anything. Don't say stupid things. How can I leave you behind? I told you, even if I die here today, I will never let anything happen to you. Xiao Hui sneered. Besides, she can't kill you even if she's already an Emperor Warrior. Nan Feishue sneered. She raised her hand, and in an instant, everyone from the Nan family surrounded Xiao Hui. Xiao Hui gritted her teeth, holding Xia Xia in her arms tightly. She held a long sword in her other hand and looked at these people in front of her fearlessly. Xiao Hui, since I dare to come, I am sure of killing you before snatching that little girl. So I only give you one chance. Are you sure you want to hand her over to me? Xiao Hui sneered and answered Nan Feishue's words with her actions. She rushed toward Nan Feishue with a sword in her hand that emitted an icy cold aura. Tianya was kind to her. Without Tianya, she would have died a long time ago. Me for extra chapters. Moreover, she had promised Feng Ruching to take care of Xia Xia, so she must fulfill it. One must keep one's word, even if it meant sacrificing one's life to keep a promise. The other members of the Nan family were a little weaker, so they could not stop Xiao Hui. Seeing Xiao Hui's swift attack, Nan Feishue no longer hesitated and rushed toward her. Clang! The long swords collided in the air, and sparks shot out in all directions. Xiao Hui needed to protect Xia Xia, making it difficult for her to resist the attack. Blood suddenly spurted out of her mouth. Aunt Xiao. Xia Xia hugged Xiao Hui's neck, her big eyes watery like a deer's eyes. The other people of Tianya's manor also heard the sound and came out, but these were only ordinary people. They were no match for the skilled masters of the Nan family, and some of them were instantly killed. The blood flowed from the courtyard, staining the ground red. Xiao Hui held back the mouthful of blood in her throat, threatening to spill out of her mouth, and went swiftly toward Nan Feishue. She was as fast as the wind, and the long sword in her hand was like lightning, cutting through the air. The sword light was swift and fierce, heading toward Nan Feishue. Nan Feishue dodged to the side. The sword light cut the tree behind her before it fell to the ground. Nan Feishue sneered and looked at Xiao Hui. A cold light flashed in her eyes. She rose in the sky, holding her sword high before pointing it at Xiao Hui and rushing toward her. Xiao Hui had to take care of Xia Xia in her arms and could only fight with one hand. She was like the wind, while her long sword was like a light beam, colliding with Nan Feishue's sword in the air again, splashing sparks everywhere. If it were the old Nan Feishue, she would never have been Xiao Hui's opponent. But recently, her strength had improved by leaps and bounds, causing Xiao Hui to feel somewhat tired from countering her attacks. Furthermore, at this moment, many skilled masters from the Nan family came with her. Her expression darkened as she looked at the others standing in Tianya's manor. A flash of determination appeared in her eyes. Xia Xia, a voice came from the side. The moment Xiao Hui turned her head to look, she saw Tang Yin and Nailin Jing coming toward her. They looked somewhat anxious. Silver Snake Queen, Xiaoya, followed from behind. They were both in a hurry and soon arrived in front of Xiao Hui. A light flashed in Xiao Hui's eyes. She turned to Xiaoya and said with a firm expression, "You must help me protect Xia Xia. Just stand here and don't move." Since Xia Xia was in her arms, she did not have much energy to deal with Nan Feishue. If she allowed Xiaoya protect Xia Xia, maybe the situation would be much better. As for why she did not let Xiaoya take Xia Xia and leave, she did not know how many other skilled masters of the Nan family were out there. In case someone attacked them out there, it would be like delivering Xia Xia right into those people's hands. All right, Xiaoya extended her hands. Xiao Hui threw the little girl in her arms toward Xiaoya. Only when she saw Xiaoya take the little girl into her arms did she turn and face those people in front of her. There was a sense of fierceness in her eyes. Nan Feishue, you shouldn't have come to Tianya's manor. Me for extra chapters. Xiao Hui raised the long sword in her hand. She smiled coldly. And you shouldn't have touched Xia Xia. Even if I can't kill you this time, when Tianya and Maiden Feng come back, you will find it difficult to escape. They will never let you go. Xia Xia was the life of everyone in the whole manor. Anyone who wanted to hurt her would never have any good end. As she spoke, Xiaohui did not give Nan Feishue another chance to speak. She moved as fast as lightning, and in an instant, she was in front of Nan Feishue. The powerful force spread throughout the sky again, making the sky of Wushang City all gloomy, as if there was a violent storm coming. The Nan family people wanted to snatch Xia Xia. So, they swiftly rushed toward Xiaoya, instantly surrounding her. "Aunt Tang, hold me." The little girl knew that it was not easy to fight with Xiaoya holding her. She stretched out her tiny hand toward Tang Yin and smiled brightly. Looking at the smile on the little girl's face, Tang Yin's heart ached, and endless anger surged up to her heart. She looked at the group of people with eyes full of rage. Xia Xia was such a cute and kind little girl. Tang Yin did not understand why some people kept wanting to hurt Xia Xia. "Little Xia Xia, let your uncle hold you. I want to get rid of these people." Nailan Jing was stunned. Well, since his future wife was stronger than him, he could only be the one holding the kid. Perhaps it was because Xia Xia almost had an accident the last time that had caused Tang Yin not to waste her time and start cultivating harder. She had not yet fought anyone, but she needed to be better through fighting. The Nan family has sent their men to death. Nailan Jing pulled Xia Xia into his arms. He held the long sword in his hand tightly and faced the group of people in front of him. "Don't worry, I will protect Xia Xia." Tang Yin's lack of height made her look somewhat less impressive among these people. However, she was as fast as the wind. The dagger in his hand slashed through the air, and in an instant, it sliced through a person's throat. Blood splashed everywhere, staining this courtyard red. The blood from the battle splashed everywhere. Nan Feishue frowned and sneered at Tang Yin and Xiaoya. One is a silver snake, and the other is a beast man. All the people of Tianya's manor are indeed powerful. Unfortunately, wow, just as Nan Feishue spoke, several figures appeared out of thin air again, floating in the sky. Xiao Hu's face changed dramatically. She gripped the long sword in her hand tightly, staring at these people in front of her. These people are all very powerful and should be as strong as Nan Feishue. Since when did the Nan family have so many strong people? Feishue, ignore this woman. Our mission is to take this little girl away. Just kill all the other people. Boom. Powerful energy filled the air. There were so many emperor warriors that it made it hard to breathe for the people present. Except for Xiaohui, who was also an emperor warrior. Xia Xia's eyes widened as she looked at those skilled masters in the sky, and then turned to look at Xiaoya and Tang Yin, who were struggling under this powerful force. She patted Tang Yin's hand gently. "Aunt Tang, you'll be fine." Spiritual qi emitted from Xia Xia's small hand, flowing from the palm into Tang Yin's body. It made all the feelings of heavy pressure disappear from her body, and she did not feel as uncomfortable as she did just now. When Tang Yin was much better, Xia Xia used the same method again on Xiaoya and Nailan Jing. The smile on the child's face was bright and lovely, as if she was not afraid of the situation. Xiaohui looked back at Xia Xia, and after seeing that Xia Xia was unafraid, she relaxed a lot. She turned around, faced the enemy in front of her as she gripped the long sword tightly in her hand. "They'll repeat one more time. If you want to take Xia Xia, then you must step over my dead body. Me for extra chapters." This was her promise. She would never fail to keep her word. "You're seeking death." Nan Feishue sneered and rushed toward Xiaohui. Her aura was like a thunderbolt, shocking the sky and earth. The other Nan family skilled masters also made their moves and rushed toward Xiaohui. Countless long swords were aimed at Xiao Hu's body, leaving her nowhere to hide. "Be careful." The moment Tang Yin turned her head, she saw this frightening scene, and her heart trembled in fear as she called out in panic. Xiaohui slowly closed her eyes. A moment later, she opened her eyes slowly. "I'm sorry, Tianya. I'm sorry. Maiden Feng, I failed to protect Xia Xia." but I will do my best to block all the dangers headed for her. Chiyohu's face showed no fear as she rushed toward these people. Even though she knew that she would die in this battle, she did not back down after all. Boom! Just as Chiyohu was already looking at death, a flow of intense energy descended from the sky and landed in front of her. It forced the group of people surrounding them to take a few steps back. This force was more than familiar to Chiyohu. She raised her head, bewildered. She was shocked as she saw many familiar figures standing in the sky. Her heart tightened, and she subconsciously took a few steps back. First the Nan family, now even Nine Gate. There were 7 elders in the sky. Except for Huiyin, all the other venerable had come together. The elder in gray robes led the group, looking down at the Nan family below, smirking. The people of the Nan family are really bold. They dare to hurt Nine Gate's disciples, and they also want to take away the holy maiden of my Nine Gate. Nan Feishue frowned, looking at this group of people warily. Initially, she found out that Chiyohu had already left Nine Gate, and thought that these people from Nine Gate would not stand up for Chiyohu. She did not expect that these people from Nine Gate would still appear today. What? Do you want to interfere? Nan Feishue took a few steps back. She had just pressed Chiyohu with her men, but if Nine Gate interfered in this matter, it might be harder for them to take the little girl away. They are all from Nine Gate. Of course, they are related to me. Chiyohu wants to leave Nine Gate, but I haven't agreed yet, so she can't leave. Boom! The elder in gray robes suddenly raised the long sword in his hand. He swung his sword, striking out fiercely. In an instant, the ground cracked. Nan Feishue's face changed slightly. She tightened her grip around the longsword. Suddenly, she laughed coldly. Nine Gate, you are asking for death. My lord will not spare you. Let's go. We must take this little girl. Nan Feishue gritted her teeth and rushed toward Chiyohu once again. Chiyohu slightly puzzled, looking at those elders in the sky. Even though these people were now helping her against the Nan family, she still did not dare to let down her guard. She could never forget what Nine Gate had done to the people in Tianya's manor back then. As long as these people are given the opportunity, they will still take Xia away. Chiyohu lowered her gaze, hiding the dark light in her eyes. However, she also knew that now was not the time to think about this, especially in the face of Nan Feishue. She must be more careful. Me for extra chapters. Meanwhile, deep in Spirit Beast Mountain, Tianya held a long sword as he looked at Nan Fong coldly. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Sui desperately tried to break the seal. Her hands were covered in blood, and her face was pale, but she did not give up. Don't waste your energy. I guess Nan Xian and Feng Ruching are already dead. I heard that this mausoleum was built for her, and today she has really died inside. Slash! Tianya slashed his sword fiercely, destroying all the surrounding trees. His eyes were bloodshot as he stared at Nan Fong. If she died, they'll send all the people of the Nan family to accompany her in the grave. Old Master Nan opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but he did not say anything in the end. He sighed and smiled bitterly. Forget it. The Nan family now is no longer the one I once built. Nan Fong has taken it from me. All my men were killed by Nan Fong. Since this is the case, it is better to destroy the Nan family, and I could just build a new one. Seeing that Tianya was about to strike again, Nan Fong also raised his long sword, ready to face the attack. The two's powers surged from the two swords, sending all the people around them flying several meters away. Tianya! Nan Fong looked at Tianya, smirking. There's no use to be angry because she is already dead, and no one can save her anymore. Ha ha ha. He deliberately provoked Tianya with these words. The cold smile bloomed across his face. Nan Luo stood behind Huiyin. She pursed her lips, and her gaze was filled with regret. She was a little sad, but not because of Feng Ruching's death. She thought that when Feng Ruching died, she would no longer have a love rival. But Nan Xian had also gone in with her. If Feng Ruching lost her life, perhaps Nan Zan, too, would be killed by these people. Father! Nan Luo tugged at Huiyan's sleeve, her eyes filled with wariness. Huiyin looked back at Nan Luo, and he touched her head gently. Don't worry. The Nan family must pay the price for hurting you. The person he wanted to deal with more than Tianya was Nan Fong. There was no other reason besides the fact that Nan Fong had hurt his precious daughter. Humph! Nan Fong pushed Tianya hard, sending Tianya a few steps back. He finally saw Nan Luo standing next to Huiyin. He smirked. Huiyin quickly pushed Nan Luo behind him, blocking Nan Fang's gaze. Nan Fong, how dare you touch my daughter? From now on, my 9 gate has nothing to do with the Nan family. You and I are enemies forever. Enemies forever? Nan Fong frowned and glanced at Nan Luo coldly. She bit her lip. Her face was pale, panicked. Nan Fong had found out that she had betrayed him again. Me for extra chapters. However, there was nothing she could do. Huiyin was really nice to her, and she enjoyed the warmth in 9 gate, the feeling that she had never enjoyed before. If Nan Fong disappeared forever, no one would snatch away her happiness, and no one would reveal her identity. You have betrayed me again. Nan Fang's eyes were fierce, staring at Nan Luo coldly. He did not expect Nan Luo to be so bold as to betray him again. It seemed that he had underestimated his daughter. Nan Luo's eyes were filled with panic. She clutched Huiyin's lapel and whispered, "Father, I'm afraid." Nan Fong. Huiyin raged. "If you want something for 9 gate, you can come to me. What are you bullying my daughter for?" Nan Fong sneered. "Do you know who your good daughter is?" "What?" Huiyin was stunned, then said angrily, "Don't you try to trick us. I won't believe in you no matter what. And I know my daughter well." "Ha ha ha." Nan Fong laughed wildly. He then looked at Huiyin with eyes filled with pity. "Then he'll tell you, this girl, shut up." Nan Luo's face changed dramatically. She stepped up from behind Huiyin, clenching her fists tightly. "At first, you took me away and wanted to use the method you used to deal with the spirit beast to confuse me. You wanted me to submit to you and help you get 9 gate. But I refused, and you thought that ID betrayed you. Now you're angry with me, and you want to destroy my relationship with my father. Ridiculous." Nan Luo raised her chin. She understood that she had nothing to lose. However, now, she had become Huiyu, so why did she have to return her nightmare when she could still stay in 9 gate that treated her extremely well? "Father!" Nan Luo turned around, faced Huiyu, and knelt. "I know my explanation is useless. If you trust Nan Fong, I've nothing more to say, but I will still stay by your side. The eldest young lady of the Nan family, Nan Luo, sent me out. She had suffered a lot in the Nan family, living a life that was worse than death. The Nan family valued the young master and neglected her. She was bullied every day. Nan Luo was a member of the Nan family, but she was a good girl. She even helped me escape. But in the end, she was killed by Nan Fong. Nan Fong drugged me and kept saying to me that I was Nan Luo, the young lady of the Nan family. I regained my senses later, but to trick Nan Fong, I pretended that he was controlling my mind, and that's how I left the Nan family." She looked sincere, and when she talked about Nan Luo, she could not help but tear up. Of course, her tears were also real. She thought of the miserable life she had led all these years and compared all the oppression in the Nan family she once had with the warmth in 9 gate. She could not help but cry in relief. Tianya's gaze sank. He smiled coldly as he looked at Nan Luo. It seems that Qinger was right. This girl is undoubtedly Nan Luo. Huiyin heartbreakingly helped Huiyu up from the ground, his eyes watery. That girl called Nan Luo is a good child. She had given up so much for you, and I will not forget her kindness. Nan Fong is heartless. He could even kill his daughter. Nan Luo lowered her gaze. Indeed, she had died in Nan Fang's hand that day. However, she also thanked Nan Fong. If not for Nan Fong, she would not have had a good life as she had today. Nan Luo smirked. "I don't care if you're Nan Luo or Huiyu." Tianya withdrew his gaze and turned to Nan Fong. "If you have nothing to do, you can get out of the way. Let me settle with Nan Fong. Me for extra chapters." Huiyin patted the young girl's shoulder. You wait here. I must settle accounts with him too." As soon as he said that, he leaped up and stood next to Tianya. His voice was cold. "Tianya, No matter what grudges we had in the past, today we must all deal with Nan Fong together. Tianya sneered and withdrew his gaze, ignoring the old man. Nan Fong was expressionless. He put one hand on his back. His eyes were cold and stern. Huiyin, it seems that you're still dumb. This girl is obviously an Luo of my Nan family. I'll tell you honestly that it was me who killed your daughter and let Nan Luo take over your daughter's body. Ha ha ha. Bullshit. Huiyan's eyes were bloodshot, and he fiercely drew his long sword, raging, I am not going to believe your words. My daughter is alive and well, but I will not let you go after what you've done to my daughter. It was impossible for him to trust Nan Fong and not his daughter. Hee. Nan Fong said nothing more. He was already behind Huiyin in the blink of an eye. His fist was like the wind as it landed on Huiyan's back with a boom. It was as if Huiyan's back had grown eyes as he turned swiftly to Nan Fang's attack. A powerful force surged from Nan Fang's fist, forcing Huiyin back a few steps. Blood spurted out of his mouth. You're seeking death. Now, even if I kill this woman in front of you, what can you do? In a flash, Nan Fong was already standing in front of Nan Luo. He raised his hand and choked her neck tightly. The familiar suffocating came again. Nan Luo panicked. Her hands trembled hard, her face turned pale, and her eyes popped out of their sockets. Save me. She struggled to hold out these few words. Nan Fong sneered and looked at Nan Luo. I've shown you mercy many times, and you have betrayed me again and again. This is the price of betraying me. Since this girl did not learn from her mistakes, she could not blame him for being ruthless. Nan Luo felt her breathing grew weaker, and the feeling of suffocation made her panic. Despair gradually filled her heart. Bang! The sword light came from behind. Nan Fong released his hand and looked at the sword light. The feeling of being able to breathe made her relieved. She caressed her neck, desperately inhaling. It was as if she tried to gulp all the oxygen she had lost just now. Huiyin. Nan Fong turned to look at Huiyin standing in front of him. His eyes were cold as a sword, and his spiritual qi gathered and became more powerful. You're looking for death. Is it worth sacrificing your life for a girl who has forcibly taken over your daughter's body? Huiyin smiled coldly. I told you that she is my daughter. I don't trust you anymore. His daughter was clearly alive and well, yet Nan Fong said she was dead and that her body was occupied by someone else? Ridiculous. His daughter was his life, and she would never leave him. Therefore, he could never believe Nan Fang's words. Nan Fong sneered. Believe it or not. After all, you and this girl both will die today. The moment he said that, Nan Fong had already leaped up and slashed his sword at Huiyin. The rest of the Nan family also made their move, surrounding the group of spirit beasts. Me for extra chapters. Feng Lianking's forehead was covered in a cold sweat as he led the spirit beasts to face these enemies in front of him, not daring to let down his guard. Suyi was still trying to get inside the seal as best as she could. The White Phoenix had been protecting Suyi, not allowing anyone to take a step closer to her. A cold light flashed in Tianya's eyes as he rushed toward Nan Fong. The sword light came toward Nan Fong, one after another, but Nan Fong was not afraid. He rushed toward Tianya fiercely, knocking all the sword lights in the air. Poof! Nan Fong suddenly drew his sword, stabbed Huiyan's arm hard before pulling it out with strong force. Blood dripped from the wound, looking so horrifying. Nan Luo's heart tightened after seeing this scene. She clenched her fists tightly. She thought that Huiyin and Tianya could kill Nan Fong when they worked together. However, she did not expect that in just a short time, Nan Fang's strength had improved a lot. She bit her lip and looked a little panicked. If it really doesn't work, I would give up with Huiyin and escape to Nine Gate first. With Huiyan's status, the people of Nine Gate would not mistreat her. Nan Fong. Tianya balanced his unsteady body, looking at Nan Fong with eyes filled with anger, and swooped down again. I don't believe that Qing'er is dead. Since I can't get in now, I'll kill you first. Just now, he was overwhelmed with anger, but now that he thought about it, Nan Fong just said that someone had gone in to kill Qing'er, but it did not mean Qinger would die in that person's hand. He trusted his granddaughter. All these years, so many storms had come to pass. Today would be no different. Nanfang looked up at Tianya. Believe it or not, it is a fact that Feng Ruqing is dead. You cannot help her even if you do not believe. After all, who did you just say was dead? Suddenly, an ethereal voice from nowhere spoke. This voice was so familiar that the people present all froze. They could not help but look up. Tianya stiffened. He turned his head blankly and immediately saw a familiar face. Feng Ruqing smiled stunningly. She was followed by a man, and a sword with a huge pot hovered around her. In that instant, Suyi stopped moving. Feng Lianqing also stopped fighting with the person in front of him. Tianya's eyes were moist. Everyone looked at her without blinking. Qinga. Tianya wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes. It's good that you're fine. No one knew the nervous tension inside him when Nanfang said those words. Even if he knew it was not true, his heart was still uneasy. Until he saw Feng Ruqing again. The weight in his heart finally lifted. Nanfang was also a little shocked as he stared at Feng Ruqing dumbly. How are you still alive? Feng Ruqing raised her eyebrows. How can I not? You. Nanfang's face changed violently. Then, how did you come out? He said that it's impossible for people who went in to come out again. Feng Ruqing looked at Nanfang and laughed out coldly. That only shows your dumbness. If I wanted to come out, of course, there are 100 ways to come out. She did not tell these people that she did not just come out, but also made a trip to Sanya mainland. Me for extra chapters. After all, she wanted to stay longer in Sanya mainland, but if Nanfang knew that she had been there, he would definitely know that the people of the Nan family had failed in their mission. By then, he would only send more skilled masters to Sanya mainland. She also did not know whether the Mu family had gone to Luyuan Kingdom or not. The old master of the Mu family was Nan Xian's grandfather, and he was nice to Suyi. Second uncle and Gu Yi were also there, and she did not want them to be in danger. This time, she had no time to go to Tianshan Manor and could only use this method to keep them safe. Nanfang clenched his fists tightly. Feng Ruqing has escaped. Does this mean that my lord has failed to kill her? At the thought of this, his whole face changed dramatically, and he gritted his teeth hard. Feng Ruqing, Tianya, this time I will let you go first. But next time, I, Nanfang, will definitely come to the city with my troops. I will kill all of you and take Suyi back. He no longer stayed, nor did he care about the rest of the Nan family. He said these and disappeared. Yes, he disappeared into thin air. He left very quickly, so fast that even Tianya did not have time to react when this guy escaped. Nanfang left this fast because he had to go back to the Nan family first to find that lord and asked him what was going on inside. Therefore, he would not waste his time here. Soon, these people, Tianya and Feng Ruqing, would die. Nanluo was a little stunned. He looked at the spot where Nanfang had disappeared, not understanding why he suddenly left. Initially, she thought that this time she could get rid of Nanfang forever. However, unexpectedly, she still let him go. Nanluo lowered her gaze and bit her lip hard with anger in her eyes. It's a pity that he has escaped. Feng Ruqing shook her head. His voice sounded a little regretful. It was not easy to make Nanfang leave Nan City. She thought she could settle the account with him today, but no one knew how he had disappeared so suddenly. Little Qingqing. The white phoenix heart rejoiced and pounced toward Feng Ruqing. He flapped his wings and asked curiously, "How come you are alone? Where is Nan Xian?" Feng Ruqing's chest tightened. She looked up at the palace in front of her with determination in her gaze. Fu Chun, and the others are still within the mausoleum. I will find them later, but a cold light flashed in her eyes. Nanfang is going to meet with that person. If he can't contact that person, he may come again. Grandfather, he'll leave the huge pot with you because I am afraid Nanfang will cause trouble again. Then, what about you? Tianya frowned. Feng Ruqing shook her head. I'm fine. The huge pot can't help me much now. Moreover, there's Nan Xian inside, so there won't be any problem. All right then. The old man let out a soft sigh, a bitter smile hanging at the corner of his mouth. He had actually reached the point where he needed his granddaughter's protection as well. When did he become so weak? Nanfang's strength has increased recently. If it were a month ago, he wouldn't have been my opponent and be forced by me to hide like a shrunken turtle, not daring to come out. A month ago, he went to Nan City just to find Nanfang. However, Nanfang was hiding in Nan City and refused to come out. No one knew what method Nanfang had used to improve his strength drastically in just a month. Grandfather, I still have to tell you something. Feng Ruqing turned to look at Tianya. I just found a way to go back to Sangyu mainland, and I've already gone back before. What? Sangyu mainland? In an instant, Tianya and Suyi's eyes were all fixed upon Feng Ruqing. Me for extra chapters. She has already gone back to Sangyu mainland? There's a place within this palace that can lead to Sangyu mainland. The Nan family also knew about this because I met someone from the Nan family in Sangyu mainland. Tianya's face sank. The Nan family went to Sangyu mainland? What do they do there? Feng Ruqing was aware of the doubt in Tianya's heart. She continued, they want to take my father away. At first, I thought they would use him to threaten us. But it's not that simple. Maybe they also want to use my father for something. No matter what the Nan family wants to do, it will endanger my father. Tianya turned cold. We should not have let Nanfang have the opportunity to leave just now. This damned Nanfang dared to go to Sangyu mainland. Tianya paused for a moment and asked again, then, the people of Sangyu mainland, did they get hurt? Feng Ruqing raised her head to look at Tianya, and after seeing the old man's cold and sullen face, she eventually nodded. Many people died in Luyun Kingdom. Boom! Tianya smashed his fist fiercely into a tree and growled, damn the Nan family. How dare they touch my people? I will make them pay in blood. He was the emperor of Luyun Kingdom. The people of Luyun Kingdom were his children. However, the Nan family had caused countless deaths and injuries to his kingdom. This debt would never be cleared. All those people who went to Luyun Kingdom should die. Fortunately, after I went to Sangyu mainland at that time, I did not rush to come back again and went to Luyun Kingdom first. Otherwise, I am afraid that all of them, including my grandfather, will not survive in that battle. Feng Ruqing's face darkened. However, the harm they brought to Luyun Kingdom, I will make them pay back as much as I can. However, now is not the right time. Good then. Tianya's voice was a little hoarse, seemingly filled with deep pain. Every innocent person in Luyun Kingdom lost their lives in these people's hands, causing his heart to ache like pins and needles stabbed at it. Sui. Feng Ruqing slowly walked to Suyi's side. She looked serious. You wait for me outside. I'll go and bring Nanxian out. Suyi remained silent. Feng Ruqing took one last look at these people before walking toward the palace. As soon as she took a step, Suyi grabbed her arm. She stopped, waiting quietly. Suyi's gaze fell on Feng Ruqing's back, her eyes filled with sorrow. Qinger, you must come back safely. Feng Ruqing lowered her eyes and smiled faintly. I will definitely come back safely. This was the promise she made to Suyi. Suyi was afraid that once she let go, the palace would be like tigers and wolves, swallowing Feng Ruqing and never spitting it out again. She looked at Feng Ruqing's resolute figure and finally slowly let go of her hand. Well, we're all waiting for you. Feng Ruqing did not turn back again and walked toward the seal with a firm step. The seal did not block her way, allowing her to walk right into it. Nan Luo looked at Suyi, who was so fond of Feng Ruqing, and clenched her fists tightly. Even her breathing grew heavy. She did not understand. Feng Ruqing ran away and left Nanxian alone in that dangerous place. But Suyi was still so concerned about her. Me for extra chapters. If it were her instead, when someone disregarded her son, she would definitely be furious and would not accept that woman anymore. What's wrong with you? Huiyan noticed the change in Nan Luo's expression. His heart tightened, and he touched her shoulder with some concern. Are you still thinking about what Feng said just now? You don't have to worry because I won't believe his words. I can't neglect my daughter for him. The one in front of him was not his daughter. Could he not tell the difference? However, he thought that Nanfang was just trying to ruin his relationship with his daughter. He would never fall for Nanfang's scheme. Tianya hated Nanfang and also had no good feelings for this fake father-daughter. He sneered. Sometimes what Nanfang says is not necessarily a lie. Huiyin froze, and he turned to Tianya angrily. What are you babbling about? Tianya smiled coldly. That girl, Nanluo, once lived in my manor for a while. She kept stalking my grandson-in-law. I am not happy about my granddaughter being snatched away by him, but I am even more upset if someone tried to destroy my granddaughter's happiness. Even if they don't have the strength to do so, the intention they have at first was still unacceptable. Nanluo panicked, and she lowered her gaze without speaking. She was not panicking because of Tianya's words. It was just that she envied Feng Ruqing for having a grandfather who loved her so much. Unlike her, the happiness that she could not quickly obtain could only be obtained through a lie. Tianya! In a flash, Huiyin rushed toward Tianya angrily. Fierce wind surged out of his palm, blasting at Tianya's chest. Tianya grabbed Huiyin's arm. A cold smile grew upon his face as he looked at Nanluo, hiding behind Huiyin mockingly. You still have time to settle accounts with me? Why don't you go and check whether this daughter of yours is real or not? Tianya knew it was useless to say more, and he did not bother to speak with Huiyin. He pushed Huiyin hard, sending him out a few meters away. Huiyin clenched his fists, snorted coldly, and turned to Nanluo. You don't have to worry. I won't believe whatever others say. No matter who said that. Nanluo raised her small face, a faint smile hanging at the corners of her lips as she responded gently. This feeling of being protected is so nice. Unfortunately, Huiyin is a little weak, but he still has 9 gate. I don't believe with so many people from 9 gate, they can't still defeat Tianya. Nanluo pursed her lips and chuckled. General Tianya, I did ask my grandfather to work with Tianya's manor because of Master Nancian. I'm friends with Master Nancian, but he doesn't want to contact me anymore because he's already had another woman with him. But I am not Nanluo. He and I are just ordinary friends, and you don't even allow this? After all, Nancian was not here, so whatever she said was up to her. Besides, she said these not for Tianya and the others. She only wanted to make her father trust her more. By then, even if Nancian denied it, she could explain to her father that it was because Tianya and others forced him to say so. As long as her father believed in her, she was halfway there. As for the other half, she must wait for Nanfang to die before it could be completed. Me for extra chapters. Suyi's eyes were cold. She glanced at Nanluo expressionlessly and said, I haven't heard that Nancian has any friends outside. Nanluo replied smilingly. Aunt Sue, Master Nancian is just afraid of Tianya and does not dare to say anything. Suyi's face became colder. She did not have a good feeling about Huiyu from the first moment she saw her, especially after she knew that Huiyu was Nanluo. No matter what people said, it seemed that this old man would never believe it. Humph! Huiyin sneered. The people in Tianya's manor are all overbearing. You control that little girl, not allowing her to have a better future. Now, you want to restrict your grandson-in-law's freedom. You are so selfish. Whoever marries the girl from Tianya's manor is really pitiful. I think it's better if you give Nan Chiyu to us to teach. At least, she will not become another unreasonable girl. All people have the freedom to make friends in life. People in Tianya's manor are so selfish, not allowing Nancian to take a concubine, and now they won't even give him the right to make friends. I guess only this old damn man would do this kind of thing. Your grandson-in-law is now afraid of you, but when he becomes stronger, it will be the day of your downfall. After all, even if he likes your granddaughter, he can't lose his self-respect as a man. Now that they're newlyweds, of course, they have nothing to worry about. But as time passes, you will see it. Tianya's eyes were filled with anger. He glanced at Nanluo and laughed out loud. You can say whatever you want because I don't care. It seems like I can already see the downfall of your 9 gate. This girl was tricky. With her in 9 gate, even if Tianya did not destroy 9 gate, it would fall in the hands of this girl sooner or later. It was funny that Huiyin was still trusting her and did not even realize the changes in her. Hui Yan's face darkened. He viciously glared at Tianya, and as he turned to look at Nan Luo, his expression became gentle again. You don't need to worry. Father will always trust you, not the outsiders. Let's go. There's nothing else here. Let's go back to Nine Gate first, and we'll settle the score with Nan Fong later. Nan Luo somewhat hesitated. She looked back at the closed palace gate, her eyes filled with worry. What about Nan Xian? No matter how cold this man treated her, she still could not bring herself to be ruthless to him. But Nan Luo looked at Hui Yan's worried face. She finally nodded. All right, father. Let's go home. Indeed, Nan Fong would not return for this time being, and it was useless for them to stay any longer. Hui Yan no longer glanced at Tianya and the others. He took Nan Luo and left immediately, now that he knew who had hurt his daughter. No matter what, he would not let these people go. The Nan family, Nan Fong, and Tianya the old bastard. Hui Yan took a deep breath, and his eyes were filled with anger. He turned his back on Tianya and did not turn back even once. Tianya stared at Hui Yan's departure figure and sneered. Hui Yan is so stubborn. But Nine Gate has nothing to do with me, so even if it were destroyed in Nan Luo's hand, it wouldn't affect me. Therefore, he had reminded Hui Yan, but that old man did not listen. If anything terrible happened, Hui Yan could not blame Tianya. Do we continue to wait now? Sui bit her lip and asked. Her gaze was filled with worries, a little uneasy about Nan Xian and Feng Ruqing going deeper into this palace. Tianya smiled bitterly and said, We can only wait here. There is no other way. Indeed, they could only wait outside. What else could they do? Me for extra chapters. They could not enter the palace and help them. Master. Feng Lianqing wiped the blood on his face. Nan Fong has mentioned the person behind the Nan family. Who is that person, and why is he looking for trouble with Sister Ruqing and her husband? Tianya shook his head. I'm not sure. I'm afraid only Nan Fong himself knows the identity of that person. Suyi looked at Tianya and turned to the palace behind her. She was silent. The dark sky instantly quiet. The battle here was temporarily over. The spirit beasts lay on the ground resting. No one would break the peace of this moment. The sky was shrouded in a gray haze. The quiet spirit beast mountain made people feel such a strong sense of danger. Everyone stayed cautious because no one knew when the danger would come again. Inside the palace, Feng Ruqing followed the track she had walked before, her pace light and fast, and she moved like the wind, speeding up to catch up to the man. The further she went in, more intense the pressure inside. There were faint sounds of battle coming from it. She panicked and walked even faster. Little Soul and Little Sword followed behind Feng Ruqing. They could sense the nervousness in Feng Ruqing, so no one opened his mouth to disturb her. They followed her silently. Soon, she saw the familiar figures. Her heart started beating faster. Not far away, the man was drenched in blood. His long snow-white hair was also wet with blood. It was so shocking and heartbreaking to see. The man standing in front of Nan Xian wore all black, and it was hard to see his expression. However, the cold smile playing on his lips seemed so gloomy. It was as if he was a demon from hell, coming with bloodthirsty, murderous intent. Nan Xian was covered in blood, while Fu Chun and Qing Han next to him did not have a way to escape. Fu Chun shielded Qing Han, using his own body to protect her. Nan Xian wiped the blood at the corner of his mouth before rushing toward the man in black again. He laughed coldly, which was quite creepy and gave others goosebumps. Boom! A powerful force exploded from these two people, but did not destroy any part of this palace. It disappeared quickly. It was as if there was a force in this palace that could suck away all the spiritual power to protect this palace. Nan Xian suddenly caught a glimpse of Feng Ruqing standing in front of him. He looked up, and his cold and handsome face finally showed a hint of expression. In the blink of an eye, he was already in front of her. He raised her hand and pulled Feng Ruqing into his arms, hugging her tightly. The man's embrace was so warm that it released all the tension that she had these few days. You're back. Nan Xian caressed the woman's hair. His voice and his gaze were as gentle as water. Feng Rooking's heart slightly ached. She wiped the blood at the corner of the man's mouth and nodded. Yes, I'm back. He turned around and saw Feng Ruching. He frowned and sneered. I did not expect you to come out. Feng Ruching raised her head to look at the man in black in front of her, frowning. Suddenly, a strong force burst into her mind, nearly causing her brain to explode. It was a high mountain. Countless girls fell into a pool of blood in front of the gate. On the other side, the leader was a man in black who led a group of people to occupy the entire mountain, leaving everyone inside the gate dead at his hands. The most unforgettable thing to her was the man's smirk at the end of it all. Feng Ruching slowly lowered her hand. Her face turned cold. It's you. I remember you. When I first saw the ice coffin, I could see the memories of those girls in the ice coffin. It was you who led the people to them and left them all dead in a pool of blood. Mu-Yi sneered and looked at Feng Ruching. If you hadn't killed too many of our disciples, we wouldn't have done anything to those people. So it wasn't me who killed them. It was you. Shut up. Nan Xian's voice was cold, and in an instant, he was already above Mu-Yi's head. The sword in his hand emitted a cold aura. His face was cold as he tried to chop off the man's head. The man in black dodged the attack. Me for extra chapters. Nan Xian's sword landed on the ground, leaving a deep mark in it. Bang! Mu-Yi raised his hand. A strong wind surged out of it, striking at Nan Xian. His punch was harsh when it hit Nan Xian's shoulder. Nan Xian fell backward, and he could feel a mouthful of blood in his throat, but he held it back. Nan Xian looked up at Mu-Yi. She did nothing wrong. He stood up straight. His face remained serious. Because what she kills is always the person who should be killed. Feng Ruching turned to look at Nan Xian, her gaze fixed upon him. Do you remember something? Yes. He remembered all the grudges and feuds that he once had thousands of years ago. However, the person Feng Ruching was today was no longer the Ninth Emperor back then. And he was Nan Xian, Feng Rooking's love. The past was like a cloud of smoke, and it did not matter anymore. The one he cared about in this life was only Feng Ruching. Even if you remember, so what? Nan Changfeng back then was not our opponent. You are just someone who relies on the Ninth Emperor to survive. Ha ha! Mu-Yi laughed out loudly. Even though Nan Changfeng was strong, he could not resist the attack from countless skilled masters in this land. That day, Nan Changfeng was chased by many people and was killed by them. When the Ninth Emperor arrived, she could only collect his dead body. He would not forget the grief-stricken eyes of the Ninth Emperor. It was filled with so much hurt. Ha ha! Unfortunately, many skilled masters died in that battle. The Ninth Emperor killed them all. Was it wrong for him to take revenge for those people? They would not have killed Nan Changfeng if the Ninth Emperor had not provoked them first. Feng Ruching looked at Mu-Yi coldly. This man is crazy. There's no use talking to this kind of person. Nan Xian held Feng Rooking's hand tightly. A light flashed in his eyes. Qinger, do you trust me? Feng Ruching was slightly stunned and nodded. I trust you. Good. Listen to me. You must keep walking forward and do not look back. There's something left by the Ninth Emperor back then at the end of this palace. I have recalled everything. The Ninth Emperor left something? Mu-Yi looked at Nan Xian doubtfully. He had stayed here for a long time. How come he had not found anything else in the palace? A light flashed behind Mu-Yi's eyes as he rushed forward. He only said, "It'll come back later. You won't be able to escape anyway." Ha ha ha. He laughed arrogantly for a long time. Feng Ruching did not move as she quietly watched Mu-Yi's leaving figure. Qing Han was a little anxious. Mother, he will snatch the thing father mentioned just now. We must hurry up. Feng Ruching raised her eyebrows and sneered. If the Ninth Emperor had really left something behind, Nan Xian would not have mentioned it in front of him. He just wants to lure Mu-Yi away for the time being. Nan Xian smiled. As usual, he did not need to say anything more, because Qinger would always understand what he had in mind. Qinger, there's indeed something inside the palace that the Ninth Emperor had left behind, but not in the place I mentioned just now. It is at the entrance of the palace, the entrance? Feng Ruching was a little surprised. Go back and open the painting on the wall. As soon as he said that, a fierce breath came from up ahead. Me for extra chapters. Nan Xian's face changed dramatically. Go quickly. It'll block him. Mu Yi was so fast because he was so familiar with the ins and outs of the palace. Feng Ruching's heart sank as she looked at Nan Xian with some worry. However, she understood there was another important thing she needed to do. Therefore, she turned back without saying anything and ran wildly in the direction she came from. In a flash, Mu Yi was already in front of Nan Xian. His eyes were red with anger, and his voice was cold. Nan Changfeng, you dare to lie to me? Did you deceive me just to let the 9th Emperor escape? Nan Xian raised the long sword in his hand. I won't let anyone hurt her. Mu Yi sneered. She can't escape from Spirit Beast Mountain. After I settle you, they'll go find her again. None of them can escape. Feng Ruching did not turn around at all. She ran as fast as she could to the entrance. This place was a lobby. There were many spirit beasts painted on the walls of the entrance. These spirit beasts seemed as if they would jump out from the paintings. They looked so real. Nan Xian said that these paintings on the walls could be opened. Feng Ruching frowned and walked to the wall. Little sword buzzed and let out a chirping sound, seemingly responding to something. Feng Ruching rubbed the paintings on the wall gently as she quietly sensed the aura on it. When her finger touched a dragon, a light suddenly flashed from the dragon's scales and cut her finger. Hiss! She withdrew her hand and found that blood was flowing from the wound on her fingers, dripping onto the dragon scales. At that moment, the dragon scales glowed brightly. The intense light enveloped the entire palace and enveloped her figure. Not far away, Mu Yi swung his sword angrily. Nan Xian staggered a bit, unable to defend himself in the attack anymore. However, even so, he still did not retreat and had used his last strength to buy time for Feng Ruching. At the moment when the sword was about to pierce through him, a bright light suddenly appeared, making Mu Yi scream, and he hurriedly blocked his eyes. The light engulfed Feng Ruching's figure and swallowed all of her sanity as well. By the time she regained her senses, she had found herself standing on top of the mountain. A familiar voice came from the side. Feng Ruching turned, and her gaze fell upon the young man next to her. The young man had a smile on his stunning face. His silver hair was dazzling, and there was a silver line between his eyebrows. Compared to the cold Nan Xian, the young man in front of her could be described as an immortal and also a demon. Their beauty was incomparable. Nan Changfeng. Feng Ruching tried to say his name, somewhat confused. The young man froze. He seemed a little stunned. What's wrong with Jior? You used to call me Changfeng. Why are you calling me by my name now? Is it because you're not happy that I hurt the young master of Blazing Flame sect yesterday? But that Blazing Flame sect's master insulted Jior. He said that Jior's face was ugly, and that's why she kept her mask on. Only we know how beautiful Jior is. The young man's voice was clear and pleasant to hear, making Feng Ruching's heart warm. No, it's fine. No matter who you hurt, it doesn't matter. The young man smiled. His smile was so stunning. Jior, when can we move out of Feng Mountain? Feng Mountain? Me for extra chapters. This name is somewhat familiar. Why do you want to move out of Feng Mountain? Because I want to spend time alone with Jior. I only need to prepare Jior's meals. If I'm on Feng Mountain, they would come around and try to grab the food when I prepare them, which I don't really like. Because I just want to spend my life alone with Jior, Feng Ruching somewhat understood. Feng Mountain that Nan Changfeng mentioned should be that place, right? Thinking of those girls dying tragically at the mountain gate, Feng Ruching's eyes darkened. Yet another tingling sensation reached her heart, making it a little difficult for her to breathe. Let's go home first. She could not wait to see them. She wanted to see them alive, not lying in that cold, icy coffin. All right, the young man smiled and walked up to Feng Ruching's side. His smile was so bright. Then we'll go back first. Feng Ruching did not remember the way back, so she kept following the young man. The young man was also a bit confused. What's wrong with Jior? Why does it feel as if something is not quite the same. Fortunately, this place was near Foam Mountain. She froze, looking at the mountain gate in front of her. Suddenly, that bloody scene came back to her mind, making her heart ache. She did not understand why she was here, but she knew that she could not change anything that had happened. There was no way to reverse what had already happened. Ninth Emperor. As she stepped into Foam Mountain, countless girls approached her. Each of these girls was stunningly beautiful with their unique characteristics. It showed that the Ninth Emperor loved beauty. Ninth Emperor, you're back. The girls' hearts rejoiced. They all surrounded her. It was as if she had become an indispensable part of these girls' lives. Feng Ruching looked at these slightly familiar faces, and she choked. It seems like the girls are still not aware that they will suffer a fatal disaster in a few days. Now they are still alive and well. Feng Ruching held back all the aching in her heart and faked a smile. Yes, I'm back. She glanced at the crowd, and she abruptly noticed a very familiar figure within the crowd. Xiaoya? And Xiaoya's real name is Xiaoya. She paused and called out, Xiaoya. The Xiaoya she met today still had not encountered so much pain. She smiled with a blush on her cheek. Ninth Emperor, I've been learning to cook recently. Feng Ruching was stunned. Xiaoya shyly lowered her head. Soon, I can replace Nan Changfeng, and you can get rid of him. When the Ninth Emperor brought Nan Changfeng back, Foam Mountain lacked a handyman. Now the handyman was too handsome, and he had charmed the Ninth Emperor to the core. Every time she went out, the Ninth Emperor would only take him and not the other girls anymore. Really, a girl in green came and pushed Xiaoya out of the way. You have already blown up 4 kitchens and burned down the courtyard 5 times learning how to cook. Xiaoya was speechless. She was a little embarrassed, and she snapped, I'm not skilled yet, but I'll master it soon. Feng Ruching lowered her gaze and did not say anything. She remembered that Xiaoya knew how to cook. Just how much hardship did Xiaoya endure out there after leaving here? What had made her life so tragic? Perhaps the one who had hurt her the most was Tang Yin's father. Nan Changfeng looked at the group of girls. His face was cold as he pulled Feng Ruching to his side. Me for extra chapters. Jiur, these people are born stupid. They will never be good at cooking. It's better if I prepare the meals for you. Feng Ruching smiled and looked at Nan Changfeng. The smile on the young man's face had disappeared since he stepped into the mountain gate. He had a cold, expressionless face. Why don't you smile anymore? I still think you look good when you smile. The young man turned and revealed a captivating smile. His voice was soft, and his smile was so beautiful. Because I only smile for Jiur alone. The girls were shocked. That vixen is a sweet talker. The girls gritted their teeth. If Foam Mountain was not really short of a handyman, this boy would have long been driven away by them. Initially, he came here to do chores, but now he even wished to sleep with the Ninth Emperor. He had gone much too far. Feng Ruching smiled slightly, but she could not smile as she still thought about the tragic situation that would happen later. Nan Changfeng died, and the entire mountain was destroyed. If she could go back to 1,000 years ago, maybe she could still stop it. However, Feng Ruching knew that the place where she was today was not really the same as 1,000 years ago. Therefore, a lot of things could not be stopped. Feng Ruching smiled bitterly and said, I'm tired. Let's rest first. After she said this, she walked toward the courtyard. She did not remember anything. However, once she walked into the gate, she felt everything was so familiar, and she did not need anyone to show her the way to the place she had lived before. Feng Ruching still did not understand until now why the dragon scale would send her here. However, since Nan Xian said that the Ninth Emperor left behind the things on the walls, they must not be harmful to her, and perhaps soon she would find out how to use them. The moment Feng Ruching stepped into the room, she felt that everything around her was familiar. It seemed that there was a wave of memories trying to enter her mind but was blocked by something. She desperately tried to recall, but could not remember anything. Jiur, a young man's voice came from the doorway. Feng Ruching looked up and saw Nan Changfeng walking in the sunlight. He was unbelievably beautiful. No wonder the Ninth Emperor went crazy back then because of him. I feel that you seem to be a little off today. The young man sat down at Phone Rooking's bed and raised his hand to touch her forehead. He frowned and sounded puzzled. You would let me warm the bed first before you went to sleep. Phone Rooking was speechless. She froze for a moment. Cough. She coughed a little. I'm too tired today. Oh, Nan Changfeng leaned on Phone Rooking's body and smiled. Your smell, your feelings, and your soul are so familiar. Otherwise, I would have thought that someone else was impersonating the Ninth Emperor to deceive me. I would kill anyone who tries to impersonate the Ninth Emperor. He would not allow anyone to insult her out there. Moreover, he would not allow anyone else to do evil under the name of the Ninth Emperor, just as Nan Xian did to Phone Rooking. Phone Rooking laughed bitterly. She was the Ninth Emperor, except that she was from 1,000 years later. But her soul was still the same as it once was. That was why Nan Changfeng felt familiar and did not suspect anything. After all, Nan Changfeng and the Ninth Emperor were in love, and in the next life, Nan Xian and Phone Rooking became husband and wife. Changfeng. Phone Rooking looked sideways at Nan Changfeng and smiled faintly. I'm the Ninth Emperor. There will be no change. Well, I trust you. Whether you are the Ninth Emperor or not, I can tell at a glance. Me for extra chapters. Nan Changfeng stroked her hair gently. He smiled. It'll warm your bed, and you can rest when it's warm. Phone Rooking was silent. No wonder the Ninth Emperor back then failed to sleep with Nan Changfeng, leaving a feeling of deep resentment. Nan Changfeng was indeed a bit too naive to simply warm the bed. Even his young face showed no other emotions. He was simply like a blank sheet of paper. There was indeed a big difference between him and Nan Xian. All right, Phone Rooking smiled. However, this was Nan Changfeng, the man that the Ninth Emperor was deeply attached to back then. Nan Changfeng's bed warming was indeed just as Phone Rooking thought. He only warmed the bed. After the bed was warm, he climbed out of bed and let Phone Rooking get into bed to rest. What about you? Phone Rooking looked up at Nan Changfeng. You're going back to your room to rest. Nan Changfeng frowned. He looked at Phone Rooking in confusion and pointed at the corner of the bed. I've always been sleeping here. Phone Rooking was speechless. She suddenly felt that the Ninth Emperor was somewhat cruel. She could not sleep with Nan Changfeng, so she punished him by making him sleep on the floor. Because Jiu'er is easily hungry in the middle of the night. I'm here to take care of Jiu'er conveniently. Men and women are different. I can sleep here. The young man smirked. He came close to Phone Rooking's ear, whispering, Jiu'er doesn't want you to sleep on the ground. He leaned in closer to her. She could feel his warm breath on her face. Phone Rooking was not the same Phone Rooking who was like a hungry wolf pouncing on its prey as she did before she got married to Nan Xian. She calmly raised her head and looked at the young man. I think you can go sleep in another room. Jiu'er has never let me go to the other room before. The young man frowned. Jiu'er, are you afraid that I will climb into your bed in the middle of the night? Phone Rooking was stunned and lowered her gaze. She smiled. She did not remember anything, nor could she recall all the past with Nan Changfeng. Based on the initial feeling alone, she felt that this young man was just a young, innocent, cute little white rabbit. But now, she suddenly found that this guy was a big-tailed wolf with a hidden tail. The only thing that she did not understand was why the Ninth Emperor had not been able to sleep with him for so many years. They loved each other, but they had not taken that final step. Phone Rooking did not hesitate to kick Nan Changfeng, who had leaned in a little too close to her ear. Go to sleep now. Nan Changfeng was stunned. He stared at Phone Rooking pitifully. This was the first time Jiu'er had treated him like this. Could it be that he had beaten too many people recently and not brought Jiu'er with him, and Jiu'er was unhappy? Oh, he answered obediently and went back to his room. He seemed aggrieved as he stared at Phone Rooking pitifully. Phone Rooking did not bother herself with him again. She was about to fall asleep when her hand accidentally touched something cold on the bed. She froze and hurriedly pulled out a scale from the blanket. The scale glowed white, making Phone Rooking's heart tremble. It was the same dragon scale as the one on the wall. It had followed her, too. Phone Rooking's gaze sank as she gritted her teeth and asked, Why did you send me here? The dragon scale did not answer her. It only quietly lay in her hand. Nan Changfeng looked up in confusion. Who are you talking to? Nothing. Feng Ruching lowered her gaze. She was not in a hurry. After all, the dragon scale had sent her to this place, so there must be a reason for it. She just needed to wait patiently for extra chapters. Just like the time she had seen the past life in her dream. When the time came, she would naturally wake up. The same things always happened. Feng Ruching took a deep breath and fell back to sleep. When she woke up, she saw a handsome face. The young man smiled faintly and was leaning a little too close to her. She could even feel his warm breath. Nan Changfeng. Feng Ruching's face darkened, and she gritted her teeth. Are you trying to scare me? Nan Changfeng laughed. You look too good, and I couldn't help but look at you a few more times. Feng Ruching was speechless. Is this bastard really Nan Xian from 1,000 years later? It's already morning? Yes, Nan Changfeng smiled. You slept too long this time. By the way, I have to go out in a few days. Didn't you say you want to go back to the Divine Herbs sect? Can I go with you? The Divine Herbs sect? Feng Ruching was slightly stunned. There's also a Divine Herbs sect here? It seemed like this place that the Dragon Scale told her to come to not only had these familiar people, but other places were also the same as 1,000 years later. No, I'll just go on my own. All right. Nan Changfeng smiled faintly and said, Then, I won't go with you. Feng Ruching looked at Nan Changfeng. Somehow, a feeling of uneasiness surged in her heart. That feeling was so strong that she could not suppress it no matter how hard she tried. Feng Ruching really wanted to take a look at the Divine Herbs sect of 1,000 years ago. Therefore, she did not continue to stay at the mountain. She got up and walked toward the Divine Herbs sect. Perhaps it was because she had once lived in this place. Even though Feng Ruching did not remember anything, she could still vaguely know how to get to the Divine Herbs sect. The Divine Herbs sect now was not the same as it was 1,000 years later, but the entire Divine Herbs sect was more than familiar to Feng Ruching. She followed her memory of the Divine Herbs sect's location and headed in the direction of the back of the mountain. Just as she stepped into the back mountain, a black dragon flew down from the sky and instantly transformed into a young and handsome man standing in front of her. Big Black. Looking at the familiar figure, Feng Ruching's heart softened, and the corners of her lips also curled up. Little Nine, you have finally come back to visit me. The young man ran wildly toward Feng Ruching with a warm smile on his face. Feng Ruching did not hesitate to move to the side, dodging the young man. He pounced and looked at Feng Ruching pitifully, biting his sleeve. Little Nine, Feng Ruching smiled. I just came to visit. Where are Fu Chun and Qing Han? According to what Fu Chun and Qing Han said, they had yet to transform into human form now and were in the herb garden at the back of the mountain taken care of by Big Black. Feng Ruching really wanted to meet them. These two spirit herbs had accompanied her from the beginning until now. Oh, I've just finished eating, probably sleeping. Oh, she smiled faintly and walked toward the herb garden. Many spirit herbs were planted in the Divine Herbs sect's herb garden, including many high-grade spirit herbs, so much so that a dense spiritual aura was wafting over the entire garden. Me for extra chapters. Feng Ruching did not see the two little kids in their original form, but she could recognize those two in the garden at a glance. In the front, a small sapling bent in the wind, and the red flower next to it leaned on it, standing in the middle of the herb garden. Fu Chun. Feng Ruching squatted down, caressed the sapling, and turned to look at the red flower. Qing Han, I'm back to see you. The sapling and the red flower danced in the wind, seemingly responding to Feng Ruching. However, they could not speak yet, and they could not express their thoughts and feelings. Little Nine, these two little ones are growing very well. Don't worry. Big Black walked up to Feng Ruching's side and said smilingly. Feng Ruching raised her head and patted Big Black's head. I'm always pleased with your job. This sentence made Big Black's heart bloom. Even his face broke into a happy smile. Little Nine, I will ask someone to prepare meals for you. Big Black turned around happily, transformed into a black dragon, and headed down the mountain. Once Big Black left, Feng Ruching squatted down again and sat next to Fu Chun and Qing Han, staring at the two little ones swaying in the wind. Fu Chun, Qing Han, I know you can hear what I say. After this, maybe I will leave. And after I leave, the Divine Herbs sect will be tragically changed in Nan Chongfeng, and I will become history. But you don't have to worry. Nan Chongfeng and I will meet in another lifetime. He is my state preceptor, Nan Xian, and will also accompany me all the way. Perhaps in this strange place, there were a lot of things that Feng Ruqing could not tell others, but these two little things that could not speak yet. During this time, I will stay in the Divine Herbs sect to accompany you for a while, and later, I am afraid that we will only meet in the next life. The little red flower moved its petals as if she wanted to say something but had no way to say it. There was a huge cottage on the back hill built by the Ninth Emperor to facilitate these two spirit herbs' care. Therefore, Feng Ruqing did not leave the Divine Herbs sect. She stayed in the back hill inside the cottage. She came out every day to talk with the two spirit herbs. The two spirit herbs could not respond to her, but seemed to understand her every sentence. Today, Feng Ruqing had just come out of the room when Big Black suddenly descended from the sky. It held a letter in its hand and handed it to Feng Ruqing. "Little Nine, here is a letter for you." "A letter?" Feng Ruqing froze and frowned. She took the letter handed to her by Big Black and opened it gently. Her calm face changed dramatically after she read the contents of the letter. She remained silent for a long time. "Little Nine, did something happen?" Big Black looked at Feng Ruqing blankly and asked. Feng Ruqing shook her head. "Nothing. Big Black, I have to leave. Maybe I won't be back for a long time." Big Black was stunned, staring at Feng Ruqing's expression. "It's fine. He'll wait for you here." Feng Ruqing's heart tightened as she looked at the young man's bright smile. What had happened to Big Black after she left, and how did he get a Huaxia to find her? I still have a few words to say to Fu Chun and Qing Han. "Big Black, you can rest first. You've worked hard." "Not at all." The young man smiled and shook his head. "I'm just here to watch the cottage. Nothing too difficult, and no one comes here to look for trouble. Moreover, many people accompany me here. It's just..." He paused and looked at Feng Ruqing. "Me for extra chapters. I want you to be here with me. No one can compare to you." Feng Ruqing's heart ached. She nodded slightly. The young man knew that Feng Ruqing had a few things to say to the two spirit herbs, so he turned around and left. His figure looked a bit lonely and desolate. Once the young man's figure had completely disappeared, Feng Ruqing regained her senses and turned to Qing Han and Fu Chun. "Just now, I received a letter. Changfeng is in danger. Those people are using Changfeng's life to threaten me. I must go to them. Initially, I didn't know why the Dragon Scale had sent me to this place. But now, I finally understand. It wants me to take the path that the Ninth Emperor took back then, and he'll live it all over again." Feng Ruqing took a deep breath as she squatted down, caressing the two spirit herbs gently. "This time, I have no way to come back. Fu Chun, Qing Han, see you in 1,000 years." She remembered when Fu Chun once said to her, after the Ninth Emperor returned, she told Fu Chun that her lover was in danger and that she had to leave to find him. After that, she never came back. Feng Ruqing slowly stood up. The two spirit herbs swayed harder. They probably did not want her to leave. They were afraid that if she left, they really could not see her again. Feng Ruqing did not look at the two spirit herbs again. She turned around and walked down the mountain. Her pace was firm, unquestionable, as if she was determined to die. The scales hidden in her dress emitted strong heat, burning her chest. However, she understood that this was the path she must take. If she followed the Ninth Emperor's path, perhaps she could leave this place. Nan Xian. Feng Ruqing lowered her gaze, hiding the worry in them. She must go back as soon as possible. Nan Xian was still waiting for her. Feng Ruqing knew that the ending would be the same, but she still rushed over as fast as possible. She hoped that by the time she got there, she could still save Nan Chongfeng. However, in the end, it was still too late. As she reached the forest, Nan Chongfeng was already drenched in blood. He was lying in a pool of blood, and the sight of bright red blood was like a long sword, fiercely stabbing Feng Rooking's heart. It was as if she had gone through such pain before. Chong Feng. Feng Rooking's voice was filled with grief. She rushed forward, and in an instant was next to Nan Chongfeng, pulling him from the ground and into her arms. "Why didn't you wait for me? Why didn't you wait for me?" The young man was barely smiling. He caressed Feng Rooking's cheek gently. "They have dug a trap for you. If I didn't come, it would have been you who would have fallen into their trap." So, he had come on her behalf. He only wanted her to be safe forever. Chongfeng. The young man's blood stained Feng Rooking's palm. A feeling of intense pain spread in her heart. It made her face turn pale with pain, and tears flowed from the corners of her eyes. "You said you had to leave for something the other day. Was it just for this?" "Well," Nan Changfeng's lips curled up into a smile. "My Jiuer is so powerful. How can their trap harm her? You are fit to fight them head-on, cough. Me for extra chapters." The young man coughed a mouthful of blood, and he slowly closed his eyes. He could no longer warm Jiuer's bed and cook for her. If he was not with her anymore, who would take care of her when she was cold and hungry? He could not bear to leave her alone. Feng Ruching took out many spirit herbs and desperately fed Nan Chongfeng with them. However, his heart and soul had suffered irreparable damage. No spirit herb could save him. Mu Yi, the head of the group, was dressed in black and was more than familiar with Feng Ruching. Nowadays, Mu Yi was fighting with Nan Xian in the palace. Feng Rooking's eyes were bloodshot as she stood up and stared at Mu Yi coldly. Her heart burned with anger as her expression darkened. Her eyes were filled with murderous intent. Nan Chongfeng brought this upon himself. Mu Yi laughed coldly. "We have set up the formation and waited for you to come over. But who knew that he would rush in himself and destroy the formation that we had spent countless hours setting up? Nan Chongfeng asked for his death, so he can't blame any of us. Moreover, even without the formation, my men and I are enough to make you half dead." "Ha ha 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 ha!" Mu Yi laughed wildly. His laughter was filled with madness. Feng Ruching closed her eyes. Nan Changfeng's blood stained her dress red. It made her heart stop beating for a moment. The sound of the wailing wind fell silent, and it was quiet as if only she and Nan Chongfeng were left. "Jiuer!" Nan Changfeng's voice was weak. It was as if he would lose it at any moment. He looked at Feng Ruching in front of him with a warm smile on the corner of his lips. Perhaps it was his voice that made Feng Ruching regain her senses. She did not glance at the group of people in front of her again. Instead, she squatted in front of Nan Chongfeng and held his hand tightly. "I will not spare anyone who hurt you." Nan Chongfeng had already lost his life, but he used the power of his soul as a consumption, only to wait for her to appear, to see her one more time, even just one glance. Nan Chongfeng smiled weakly. "What will happen to us in the future?" Feng Ruching froze, and she looked at Nan Chongfeng in silence. "You are not Jiuer, but yet you are Jiuer." Nan Changfeng's voice was soft. "I want to know, in the future, can we still be together?" "Yes." Feng Ruching bore with the pain in her heart and nodded. "Your name will be Nan Xian, and my name will be Feng Ruching. We will still be together and have a lovely daughter. Her name is Nan Qiyu, and we also called her Xia Xia, and that's enough." Nan Changfeng's hand slid off Feng Rooking's palm. He smiled, and his gaze was filled with reluctance. All these years, the ninth emperor was always surrounded by many followers. But he only had the ninth emperor. She was his everything. Feng Ruching trembled hard as she looked into Nan Changfeng's eyes. The cool breeze blew and filled her heart, making it feel so cold. "Chongfeng." No one responded to her. Only the breeze echoed in her ears for a long time. Feng Ruching clenched her fists tightly and pulled Nan Chongfeng into her arms. The group of people surrounded her from the side and gathered around her. Mu Yi winked at the others. "Kill her. It is best to attack while Feng Ruching is immersed in grief. Me for extra chapters." The people looked at each other and instantly rushed toward Feng Ruching. However, just as they were about to reach Feng Ruching, a strong storm gathered around her, sending everyone flying away with a boom. She still had her eyes downcast, looking at the young man she had wrapped into her arms quietly. She then held him and stood up from the ground. Changfeng, it'll take you home. Take you home. These few words echoed through the sky for a long time. Mu Yi's eyes darkened. He raised his long sword and instantly rushed toward Feng Ruching. However, he became very slow, as if in slow motion as he slowly slashed his sword. Just as Mu Yi's sword was about to make contact with Feng Ruching's head, a river of memories rushed into her head. The first acquaintance with Nan Changfeng. They were flirting with each other. Until the moment he died, it turned out that so many stories had happened between them 1,000 years ago. She closed her eyes slowly, and the dragon scale emitted a hot glow. It burned her chest. Slowly, just a moment after Mu Yi's longsword was brought down, the entire mountain forest was filled with white light. It was so bright that her eyes could not open. All the surrounding scenery suddenly disappeared. Even the group of screaming enemies vanished into thin air. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.